this is proof that these corpos, like the reason they feel so secure and safe kicking their old audience to the curb is because they just assume that they have a captive audience. And then when they find out they don't, they flip out. Drag Queen Age Maestro says EA always spoke about hypothetical nerd cave full of diehard RPG fans who would always show up so you didn't have to try and appeal to them. Yeah, sadly, I don't think this is exaggerated or made up in any way. I've seen this attitude myself from a lot of the higher ups. They legitimately start believing after a while that they have a captive audience. Like, well, where else are they going to go? I mean, obviously, they're just going to shut. I mean, they might complain a little bit, but they're still going to buy our stuff until the day they don't. The reason they can believe this is because a lot of diehard fans, they will do this once, maybe twice. So back in the old days, before we had so many bad actors in these industries, we understood that sometimes mistakes happen. Just because a company screws up once, yeah, okay, maybe it was just one time. We'll give them another chance. Yeah, that was before we learned that a lot of the people they hire outright hate us and are sabotaging this stuff on purpose. That's not the case anymore. Like nowadays, you're afforded one mistake. But after that one mistake, everyone puts you on the wait 6 months and wish list. We'll see what everyone says about this thing after it's had some time to cook. Maybe they were right, but they shouldn't have said it. I think "were" is the key word. Yeah, look at Last Jedi, for example. After The Last Jedi effectively destroyed the Star Wars fandom, the haters were all they were pointing to it. Well, look, it still made like $2 billion, RGE. You don't know what you're talking about. But what happened after that? Soilo lost money. The ruse of Soywoker vastly underperformed. Star Wars has been nothing but money-losing projects since. It has to start somewhere. But these guys are too stupid for basic pattern recognition. A Drag Queen Age veteran says EA like to refer to a cave where RPG fans could be trusted to buy anything in the genre through with them would dwell. Even if that was the case, they got much better options. You know how many RPGs are out there? Speaking of the game's radar, BioWare veteran David Gator explained that before he left BioWare, his taste had become somewhat old-fashioned in EA's eyes. I was very vocal on the Drag Queen Age team, he said. I was always trying to push it to our traditional mechanics, and it wasn't very welcome. He says EA considered those mechanics, the kind that shaped games like Drag Queen Age Origins, to be slow and cumbersome rather than the actiony and slick presentation the studio was being pushed towards. It meant that Gator's views are often not be welcome, despite his long tenure at the studio and work on many of its most famous RPGs. It's okay. They know better. And that's partly because he says EA didn't think the traditional RPG audience was one that was worth focusing on. And they didn't focus on it, and it didn't turn out for him. Who could have guessed? He claims that the overseers referred to those mechanics as being in the cave. The cave, he explains, was where the nerds went. The nerds were in the cave. You made an RPG, and the nerds in the cave would always show up for an RPG because it was an RPG. Until you turn it into whatever Drag Queen Age the Fail Hard was, because that wasn't an RPG. That devotion to their chosen genre, in EA's eyes, meant that you didn't have to worry about the nerds. You didn't have to try to appeal to them. You had to worry about people who weren't in the cave, which was the audience they actually wanted, which was much larger. Yeah, once again, they actually do view things this way. And what they never seem to consider, though, is even if this was true, you realize that this nerd cave has access to your competitors that are making better RPGs? Have you ever thought of that? They're not just going to buy any slop just because it exists. If there's anything better out there, they're going to buy that. This ain't exactly rocket surgery, guys. Really, Gator clarifies is that the audience that EA wanted basically got what it wanted. Unfortunately for the publisher, the endpoint of that philosophy was Anthem, a live service effort that flopped entirely at launch, was entirely abandoned within 2 years. Well, it lasted 2 years longer than Concord did. The benefit of that was that Bioware was able to refocus somewhat around its single-player RPGs with last year's Drag Queen Age the Fail Hard. Yeah, that went so much better than Anthem. And the eventual release of Mass Effect 5. After Andromeda, I don't think anyone's coming back. Though with that game still pre-production as of this year, it might be some time before we get to see it. Maybe this is not a bad idea. Maybe with Mass Effect 5, what they're doing is they're going to stall until the woke problem fixes itself. Not a bad strategy, to be honest. Yeah, it's funny. They just won't let this go. I agree. This is fucking hilarious. Yeah, at this point, I know they're not going to listen to me anyway, so they could believe whatever they want. It's not my money they're wasting. I'm not their customer anymore either. I'm not giving them money. I'm not funding their shit. They could do whatever they want.